Can you guess whose picture has been on the cover of Time magazine more than any other personality in the history of that publication? Mary. Mary, the mother of Jesus. Pictures of her in stained glass, portraits of her by famous painters, sculptures from around the world, even sites purporting to show apparitions of the Virgin Mary have graced the cover of Time magazine more than any other individual, according to Time magazine. Mary's everywhere. Marigolds are named for her. Hail Mary passes save football games. The image in Mexico of Our Lady of Guadalupe is one of the most reproduced female likenesses ever. Mary draws millions of people each year to shrines such as Fatima in Portugal, Knock in Ireland, and Lourdes in France. Mary inspired the creation of many great works of art and architecture. Michelangelo's Pietà, the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, as well as poetry, liturgy, and music. And Mary is the spiritual confidant of tens upon tens of millions of people around the world, no matter how isolated or forgotten they may be. And of course, there is a prayer that rolls off the lips of millions each day, the Hail Mary, taken from our gospel reading today from Luke 1. For believers around the world, it is quite possibly the second most important prayer of the Christian faith, the Our Father or the Lord's Prayer being the first. In Luke 1, the angel Gabriel, sent from God to invite Mary to bear God into the world, greets Mary with these words: "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." Mary's response to this greeting is everything. "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word." Meaning, Mary is ready, willing, and able. She makes herself available to God. She has the faith to believe it can be all true. It is all possible with God. The key to Mary's willingness and her ability to say yes to God's proposal lies in Gabriel's proclamation, at least in part of it. "The Lord is with you," Gabriel tells Mary. On our own, some things are possible, but with God, anything is possible. God is always with us, but we are not always with Him. And that's that second part. The Lord is with you. But we also have to be with the Lord. When we live our lives then in such ways that we are more and more with Him, more and more full of His grace, when we make ourselves more available to Him, more open to Him, then we become more ready, willing, and able to go where God needs us to go and allow God to do what God wants to do with us, in us, and through us. This is the posture of receptivity to God. It is Mary's posture throughout her life. And this is the posture that we are to take as Christians. Receptivity. Think of this receptivity in this way. At many higher-end restaurants, the way you indicate to the waitstaff that you want tea or coffee is by turning right side up your cup that has been placed face down at your place. Well, that's what Mary did. She turned her life right side up to God. She was ready to receive whatever grace God poured out upon her and into her life. So it must be with us. For God to do something in our lives, for us to be available to God's grace, for God's will to be done in us and through us, our cups must be turned right side up to receive what God is offering. Then anything is possible with God, and we live our lives in such a way that no matter what happens to our lives, we are receptive to God. We can fill up with Him. We're able also to bear Him into the world. And isn't this what we're supposed to be doing as Christians? Isn't this the Christian life? Isn't this our mission, to bear Christ into the world? Let's think about this in another way. Marian Apparitions and Marian Apparition sites, places where people have reported to have seen Mary. Millions visit these Marian shrines every year. Thousands upon thousands experience healings, physical, emotional, spiritual, and relational. And many come back after those healings and have them verified by their doctors. Miraculous healings. Many of these pilgrims speak about a life-changing event during their pilgrimage. Something happens that allows them to know the deep love that God has for them. And this changes everything. They return home changed, more receptive to God's grace than before. Not just God with them, but now them with God. From this encounter, God comes through their lives and into their lives, and then through their lives into the lives of other people. Like Mary, then, they start to bear Christ into the world, which is what they were supposed to be doing all along, what we're supposed to be doing all along. Along these lines, take the case of Arthur Boyle, 59 years old, from the East Coast, on Labor Day 2000, riddled with cancer and given only months to live. Boyle felt, understandably, broken, dejected, depressed, hopeless. Two good friends of him convinced him to go on a pilgrimage with them to Medjugorje in the region of Bosnia-Herzegovina. During his pilgrimage, he decided in his heart to take a posture of receptivity, to be open to whatever God wanted to offer him rather than what he demanded of God. Just a posture of receptivity. After he went to confession at the local church, St. James the Apostle Church in Medjugorje, psychological relief came immediately. He reports, the anxiety and depression were gone, he told the reporter from Time magazine. You know, when you're carrying someone on your shoulders in a swimming pool water fight and they come off and you feel light and free? I was like, wait a minute, what just happened to me? The next morning, with his two friends, he met one of the visionaries, Vika, in a local store and asked for her help. Gripping his head with her one hand, she appealed to the Virgin Mary and asked her to intercede to her son for him for his healing, in whatever way the Lord in his providence willed. Boyle said he experienced an unusual sensation right there in the store. Vika prayed over him, and his two friends put their hands on him, and the heat went through his entire body. When he returned home, he consulted with his doctor. The doctor said, don't do this to yourself. I know you went off to some religious gathering. And the man demanded, no, I want you to run all the tests. He ran all the tests, and all the tumors had shrunk to almost nothing. That was 20 years ago, and they've never come back. Arthur Boyle is a self-proclaimed regular guy who likes to play hockey, play golf, and drink a beer or two with his friends. But something changed inside of him during that pilgrimage. While he's still a self-proclaimed regular guy, he is far more now receptive to God, receptive to whatever God wants to offer him, whatever God wants to do in his life and through his life. For Boyle, part of his response to God has been to lead others to Medjugorje. Over the last 20 years, he's been there and led 13 groups on pilgrimage to help them find healing too, in whatever way God and his providence works. But always, he says, he notices the spiritual healings, which are the healings that really matter the most, because even physical healings at some point fade in our death. No, he always sees the spiritual healings, and the spiritual healings are the ones that carry us through this life and into the world of ultimate healing in heaven. Boyle, in addition to the pilgrimages, finds himself regularly speaking to others about Christ's healing power and the intercessory power of Mary. And this is a guy who doesn't have a theology degree or whatever else. He just sits in a pew like you and I. So far from being a Jesus freak or a fanatic, this regular guy is nevertheless ready, willing, and able to lead other people into a life where they too can state, like him and like Mary, the mother of Jesus, "Let it be done to me according to your word." God was always with Boyle, but now Boyle is with God. Boyle tries every day to walk with God. And because of that, Boyle has now become a bearer of God into the lives of other people. Perhaps receptivity is one of the qualities that makes Mary so attractive across the world and across the ages. Perhaps this is why, next to Jesus, she is the most represented person in art, architecture, music, poetry, and on the cover of Time magazine. And she is only human. Perhaps, too, this is why Christians around the world and over the centuries pray this beautiful prayer from Luke 1. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Something in Mary's life is very attractive to us. With ourselves, some things are possible. With God, anything is possible. The key to the Christian life is recognizing not just that God's grace is available to us, but like a coffee cup in a restaurant, turning our lives right side up and being receptive to whatever God wants to pour into us. Being ready, willing, and able, so we can say with Mary, "I am the servant of the Lord. Let it be done to me according to your word." When we utter these words and choose to live by them, anything is possible with God. Anything.